Why are you laughing? What could possibly be funny about sitting in a room while your life falls apart?
I was just thinking about how much effort it takes to sit there, to keep your tie perfectly straight, to keep your voice at that specific, important man frequency while your heart is hammering against your ribs like a trapped rat. I'm laughing at the choreography. We're all dancing so hard, and for what? A slightly nicer chair?
You've lost your mind. You think this is a performance. This is reality. These are consequences.
Reality? You haven't touched reality in 20 years. Reality is the kid sitting on the curb with a hole in his shoe, wondering why the world smells like exhaust and apathy. You live in a bubble made of high thread count sheets and professionalism. You wouldn't know reality if it walked up and cut your throat. You call it consequences, but I call it the bill coming due for all the years you've spent pretending the people under your feet were just carpet.
No one asked you to analyze us. We brought you here too.
To what? To fix me? To put the polite back in the puppet? You look at me and you see a tragedy, but I look at you and I see a graveyard. I see all the things you buried so you could climb that ladder. You buried your empathy, you buried your honesty, and you buried that little girl who used to actually feel things before she learned how to weaponize a concerned smile. You're all so shiny, but if I turn the lights off, I bet you'd all just disappear. There's no light coming from the inside anymore, is there?
What does that mean? Are you threatening us? Because if you think...
Threatening you? The world already did that. Society spent 30 years threatening me with a good life if I just stayed quiet. Smile through the pain. Don't let them see the cracks. Be a good soldier. And I was. I was the best soldier you ever had. I smiled until my skin felt like it was going to snap off my skull. I swallowed my screams until my stomach turned to acid. And what did I get for my loyalty? I got a front row seat to my own erasure. Damn it, I realized that the monster isn't the man who finally breaks the monster, is the system that watches a man break, takes notes on his efficiency, and then asks why he isn't smiling for the company photo.
Why would you say that? We gave you a...
You gave me nothing but a mirror to hide behind. You talk about betrayal. Betrayal is being told that if you work hard and keep your head down, you'll be happy. That's the greatest lie ever told. You don't want people to be happy. You want them to be predictable. You want us to be cogs that don't squeak. But I'm squeaking now, aren't I? I'm the sound of the machine grinding to a halt because one little piece decided it didn't want to be a part of your perfect engine anymore.
You're hurting, we get it. But this isn't the way to...
Stop. Just stop. Shh. That voice, that HR-approved tone of fake compassion. It's the most violent thing in this room. It's the sound of a person who is already planning their lunch while they watch someone drown. You don't care about my pain. You're just terrified that it might be contagious. You're afraid that if you look at me too long, you'll see the same loneliness staring back at you. That cold, howling vacuum that wakes you up at 3 a.m. and asks, "Who am I?" when no one is watching.
We don't have to listen to this. We can just...
You will listen. Because for the first time in your lives, the background noise is speaking. You think I'm the monster? I'm the person you created. I'm the result of every time you look through someone like they were glass. I'm the hidden suffering of every invisible person you've stepped over to get into this room. I've learned how to turn my loneliness into a weapon and my pain into a symphony. And the most beautiful part, the absolute joke of it all, is that I don't need your approval anymore. I don't need your help. I don't even need you to understand. I just wanted you to see it. I wanted you to see what happens when you push a man so far into the dark that he learns how to breathe underwater. You're sitting here in your mahogany coffin, waiting for the world to go back to normal. But there is no normal anymore. There's just the truth. And the truth is, I've never felt more alive than I do right now, watching the fear crawl across your faces like a spider. That's it. That's the sound I've been waiting for. the silence of people who finally realize they've run out of lies. Enjoy it. It's the only honest thing you've ever owned. You're waiting for the punchline, aren't you? You're sitting there, hearts hammering against your expensive ribs, waiting for me to pull a rabbit or a gun out of my hat. But the joke isn't what I'm going to do. The joke is what you've already done. You've spent your whole lives decorating a house that's actually on fire, and you're mad at me because I'm the only one who stopped trying to throw water on the flames. Do you know what it feels like to realize your entire personality was just a series of survival tactics? I used to have this signature style of being alive. I'd hold it all in. I'd carry my grief like a delicate mask, making sure not a single crack showed. I'd walk into rooms like this and I'd perform. I'd be the good man. I'd be the one who listened, and I'd go home and feel the weight of every lie I told, just to make you people feel safe. But look at me now. I'm not performing anymore. This isn't a speech. This is an autopsy. I'm cutting you open and showing you the grey, shriveled things you call morals. You talk about betrayal. You betrayed your own souls the second you traded your empathy for a corner office. You're fake. Every handshake is a transaction. Every I understand is a calculation. You've built a world where vulnerability is a weakness and cruelty is efficiency. And you wonder why the air feels so thin in here. It's because you've sucked all the humanity out of the room to make space for your ego. You're so quiet now. Is it because you finally see the monster? Or is it because you realize the monster is the only one telling the truth? I spent years in the dark, wondering if I was the broken one. I'd look at people like you, so composed, so perfect, and I'd feel like a glitch in the system. But I'm not a glitch. I'm the result. I'm what happens when the system works exactly the way you designed it. You create the loneliness, you create the suffering, and then you act shocked when the altered content of a human soul finally refuses to be edited anymore. I used to pray for someone to see me. Now, I pray that I never have to see you again, because you're not real. You're just empty speech bubbles. You're placeholders for people who were too afraid to actually live. I've found a way to breathe in the wreckage while you're all still gasping for the air of a world that doesn't exist anymore. Don't bother calling security. Don't bother calling the police. By the time they get here, you'll still be sitting in this silence, and you'll realize it's the only honest conversation you've had in decades. I'm not the tragedy. I'm the wake-up call, and the sun is never coming back up for people like you. Smile. Not because you're happy, but because you finally realized that the mask was never for me. It was to keep you from seeing yourselves. And now the mask is off. How does the air taste? Bitter. Good. That's the taste of being awake. I used to think my life was a tragedy. I used to think that if I just followed the rules, if I just kept my head down and my mouth shut, that eventually someone would tap me on the shoulder and tell me it was my turn to be happy. But no one is coming, are they? We're all sitting in this suffocating silence because you're terrified that if you speak, the truth will come out. And the truth is that you're just as broken as I am. The only difference is that I've stopped trying to glue the pieces back together. You look at me with that concerned stare, but I can see the gears turning behind your eyes. You're calculating the risk. You're wondering how this affects the bottom line. You've turned your entire existence into a ledger of profit and loss, and you've lost your soul in the rounding errors. You're fake. You're a collection of expensive habits and borrowed opinions. You don't have a single thought that wasn't handed to you by someone else to make sure you stayed productive. I'm the only one in this room who is actually awake. I've spent years wandering through the dark, feeling the walls, learning the shape of the suffering you try so hard to ignore. I've been the person you stepped over on your way to a power lunch. I've been the background noise in your perfect life. And now that I'm standing right in front of you, you can't even look me in the eye, because my face is a mirror. It shows you the loneliness you try to drown in cocktails and busy work. You call this a meeting. This is a funeral. We're here to bury the lie that you're in control. You're not in control. You're just passengers on a ship that hit the iceberg years ago, and you're still arguing about the seating chart. I've learned to love the cold water. I've learned that once you lose everything, you're finally free to be whatever you want, and I chose to be the person who reminds you that your masks are slipping. So go ahead, keep your silence, hold on to your dignity while the world outside burns. You think you're safe because you have walls and locks, but walls don't keep out the realization that you've spent your whole life being a supporting character in someone else's script. I'm the lead in my own story now, and the ending is going to be so beautiful.